I don't think there has been a point in my life where I have felt the true concept of what pride even entails. I have never resonated, I've never related to the concept of pride as a greater subject matter, and it's always been something that I have chased or that I have looked at secondhand or seen other people go through, wishing it were me. And this goes for just about any part of my life. I've always been someone who has lost the I don't give a fuck war, someone who has compared myself incessantly to every single person that I've ever encountered in my life, someone that is full to the brim of intrusive thoughts that manipulate me and coerce me into things that I don't want to do, as well as just a generally short-circuited, malfunctioning brain that is so built up with traumatic incidents of the past that it truly shaped me into a warped amalgamation of myself half the time. But a lot of that has always boiled down to doing what I think other people want of me. Restraining myself, constraining myself, denying myself, sacrificing things in my life, compromising, and choosing to beg, barter, or steal to just feel content and feel like happiness is something that just was not particularly intended for me, that it's the way the world works, that I did something wrong to deserve it, that I did something to put myself in a position to not be able to attain the same happiness that I wish I could feel and see other people enjoying. And when I'm releasing this video, it is going to officially be Pride Month, the commercialized fuckfest of a bunch of corporate entities acting like they give a shit about issues in the world pertaining to people that are LGBT, as well as people putting in their Twitter bios for the month or posting a rainbow flag on Facebook or something like that. I want to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty because I have not talked very much about myself or my identity on this channel. And I want to filter this through the lens of the metalhead community that I grew up in, the metal community that is my home and the place that I have always felt the most safe and secure, as well as the fears that I have had, the terror that I have had, the experiences I have had, and why I want to be able to use this video as a platform to speak for a community that is very rarely represented when it comes to this community, as well as the things that various artists both in metal and rock have had to deal with throughout the decades. I'm going to be giving background throughout this video. There are going to be a lot of dark topics in this video, so if you are someone that is easily fazed or offended by some pretty dark shit, I highly suggest you don't watch this video. This is going to be something that is coming straight from the heart, stream of consciousness style. But the biggest thing I want to sort of emphasize going into this video is I have wanted to make this video for 3 years straight, and I haven't. I have had the working title for it. I've had the exact vision of what I wanted this video to entail, what I wanted to say in it, and every single time that I want to make it, I don't. And it always boils down to the same exact thing that I said at the start of this video, basing it on how other people will react. I want to go into this video making something very clear. I am not an activist, I am not a fanatic, I am not a sycophant, I am pretty centrist in a lot of my politics, I have a lot of beliefs that align more with conservatism and libertarianism, and I have a lot of extreme left sort of beliefs and almost like borderline anarchist type of beliefs, so I very much do not have one specific lean in the discussion of this, and I'm honestly not going to really tolerate people that are just going to be active bigots. If you want to have a discussion about a specific topic, absolutely, but don't go after the character of me or anyone else solely for a specific identity. If you want to have a healthy discussion or talk about your opinions on the matter, I 100% support it and even welcome it, because I'm always interested in not only talking to people, but helping educate people in both myself and the world around me. And in general, I think that one of the biggest things that leftist politics fails to do a lot of times is talk to other people and educate people in the truths of what they believe. This community is not what we tout it as. For how much we want to believe that we are a progressive, kind-hearted, outcast sort of society for metal people that come together to form this community of people who are black sheeps, who are outcasts, who are pariahs, we very rarely practice what we preach. And if you take one step into any space where there's an LGBT artist, you will see countless people questioning their validity, calling them soft, saying they're ruining the scene, saying that they're not welcome here, and I have multiple examples of this. There are so many artists that have garnered so much fucking resentment and bigotry that isn't even related to the music or art that they are making, whether you're talking about like Connie Scarbosa, the trans woman frontwoman of See You Space Cowboy, Ravenna Hunt Hendricks, who has been completely demolished as a person in the black metal community and has a lot of supporters, but literally saw her support go down after she came out as transgender, despite not even making it anything about what she spoke about and simply filtered it through her music a little bit. Laura Jane Grace, the singer of Against Me, is from a punk background, a hardcore background, which is generally touted as more respectful than metal, and she has garnered so much transphobia. You go in any comment section and there's a bunch of people correcting people just for gendering her correctly. And for people that think that this is just a trans issue, it absolutely is not. Freddie Mercury might have been a carefree, fuck the world, I'm gonna do what I want type of person, but there was visceral homophobia towards him in the 80s and 90s, and it takes just a quick Google search of research into some of his experiences, some of his interviews, even having band members be homophobic towards him. Not to mention, after his AIDS diagnosis, it was a fucking catastrophe in terms of putting him on the map even more, and there was already so much stigma around gay men because of HIV and the AIDS epidemic that automatically you were seen as subhuman and inferior. And you look at a movie like Philadelphia, and that's a prime example of the type of treatment that people would get solely because of that. And Freddie Mercury being a case study that people point to and say, well, he didn't deal with it, so he's his own thing. He absolutely did, he just handled it in a much different way. I cannot think of one singular song by Judas Priest as a Priest fan that goes whatsoever into the fact that Rob Halford is a gay man, and yet I still have seen people say that I love that music, but damn, I just can't agree with that man, even when it's completely irrelevant to the discussion whatsoever. People that are, and I will put this in air quotes, normal, people that are straight or people that are cis, whatever it may be, you might have some sort of experience not liking yourself or a part of your body or that sort of thing, but I guarantee you that you do not know what it is like to step in the shoes of someone who has to have eyes in the back of their head because they are either in physical danger depending on where you are in the world, or constant scrutiny where your entire existence is completely dictated by the opinions of others, whether you like them or not. And this is becoming more of an issue, even more so in the US recently with so many trans laws, that it goes completely against what it initially stood for. We have come a long way from the past, and we are certainly better off than a lot of countries in the world. This is obviously from a United States perspective, and mostly just a Western perspective in general. All it takes is going under the comment section of one trans person, metal or not, or someone that is LGBT or openly prideful or joyous with themselves, and you will see some of the most inhumane things ever tossed at people. I have not really talked about my identity on this channel. It has meant so little to this channel's development, the content I make, and I very rarely even bring it up as a relevant topic because it isn't relevant. I have consistently made myself uncomfortable because of this channel. So much so that I have to sacrifice things that I want to do, sacrifice ways that I want to be, solely for my safety, because I know the type of people that adopt this community and the demographics, as well as some of the people in my life that I know would absolutely crucify me. There have been long periods of droughts on this channel because I've been too uncomfortable to even look at myself or hear myself. There have been times that I have absolutely despised my channel and almost nuked half of my content. There have been times where I have considered quitting altogether because of how discomforting it was. I have had hundreds of comments on this channel calling me every single slur under the earth, sending me death threats, saying that they would kill me or hurt me if they could, and this is coming from someone who has not fucking said jack shit. Sometimes I wear a different sort of shirt, or I have like my nails painted, and God forbid that is something that people immediately equate to dissing my entire content and who I am as a person solely because of that. So can you imagine the people that are open and are trying to exist in this world, that are trying to just be themselves? The very few times that I've talked about LGBT issues on this channel, there have been overwhelming amount of comments of people saying, thank you for speaking up, this isn't in this community, this doesn't happen in this community, you don't hear people speaking up, there are not many creators that fall under this umbrella. And truth be told, I cannot think of any creators that are of my like subscriber count and view count and exposure that fit into the categories that I fit into, and not once have I tried to dictate myself or change who I am on this channel to fit that. I'm a very blunt, reasonable, genuine person, but most of the time I do kind of play up a little bit of a persona on this channel. The way that I act, the way that I talk, my mannerisms, just the things I have to consciously tone myself down a lot of times on this channel out of fear of the reaction that I have gotten in the past, and also to preserve myself so I don't have to raise issues with anyone. And it's gotten to the point to where much of the time I am scared to share my channel and what I do with a lot of the people that I know, because I don't want to break some sort of fragile perception, and I just always have to have this guard up and this mask up and the fucking eyes in the back of my head with any person that I interact with, because I don't know their perception, I don't know what they're gonna do, I don't know what they're going to say, and so I just have to lock everything off, and that is an incredibly mentally taxing and isolating feeling to go through. I fucking love this community. I've been a part of this community for as long as I can remember. From ages 7 to 8, I was listening to alternative and new metal music, and throughout my 2010s, my teenage years, I literally consistently adopted metal as catharsis. I loved so many channels in this community, the Brain Smashers, the Vital Vinyl Vlogs, the Cover Killer Nations. I was engrossed in this, and when I was growing up and trying to discover things about myself, and when I already had dealt with so much trauma, whether it's people that were close to me, people that were online, I only knew to not show the things about myself that I thought were flaws or frowned upon or weird, because that was the only interpretation that I ever had of myself. And so automatically I thought that I was the monster under the bed that was waiting to claw someone's ankles out from under their feet, and that was a damaging and defeating feeling to have as a kid, to not have a single soul to talk to, growing up in a friend group that consistently would be so adamantly against certain things, to come from a place in the world and come from people that are just adamantly believing what they want to believe, as well as growing up in gamer culture, specifically like World of Warcraft and Blizzard games. So all I knew was the Call of Duty rage bait N-word and dropping the R slur constantly at everyone, calling people faggot and gay. My brain only interpreted that as, that's a bad thing. That's something that is worthy of being used as an insult. I grew up in the time when calling someone gay or faggot was synonymous with calling them bad or questioning something about them or just saying that they were inferior to you in some way. And so that was immediately what I interpreted that as. And I come from West Virginia, which is notoriously a little bit more of a right-wing state. And so a lot of the people, specifically in my rural area that I grew up around, were on the older side, the white side. We're on just the cis, straight, hardworking, blue-collar people, and I have nothing but a shit ton of respect for those people, but those are also people who have very ingrained beliefs that they do not want to budge from. I have had to figure so much out for myself throughout my life, because it is truly all that I was ever given. There have rarely been times in my life where someone would sit down to me and simply ask me, how do you feel? Why do you feel this way? How can I help? I didn't really receive that. And if I did receive that, it always would come with an asterisk at the end, where someone would either want something from me at the end of it, or question it, or throw some little sucker punch at the end. So when I said at the start that I don't know what pride feels like, I don't know. I truly do not know what it is like in this world. In the 23 and a half years that I've been alive on this earth, I do not understand what it is like to wake up in the morning and not have to either tone down or pick and choose my battles, pick and choose my poisons, and feel like I cannot be authentic to myself. Feel like I am going to be constantly under pressure, to be constantly tense, to go online and see millions of people that believe a certain thing, that question if I'm even a human or not, or if I am worthy of their respect, and would likely not even interact with me depending on what they knew or what they didn't know of me, to go on any news outlet and consistently see so much damaging, defeating rhetoric that is going to just break me down more and more and make me question myself and get in my head and second guess myself anyway. And I already see this world in a very intense, violent way. My thoughts and my emotions are always out of whack and out of wire. I don't ever get the chance to just sit alone in my thoughts and ask myself what the fuck I want, and when I do, I try to compartmentalize and I try to forget about that, because guess fucking what? I always know the answers to myself. I'm a very emotionally in tune person that has understood myself for years on end, but the world doesn't. And I want to emphasize that I do not have some sort of martyr or victim complex in terms of that. I have thick skin. I've been through a shit ton of incredibly catastrophic and traumatizing events in my life when it comes to identity, when it comes to myself, that at this point, I just most of the time expect the worst. I'm a pretty pessimistic person by definition, just because I was taught that way. But I care what people think. I truly do. I did not see people that were like me being exposed. I did not see people people like me that were put on the map in the metal and punk community, and so I automatically tried to really, really masculinize myself throughout the 2010s of my life. I tried to do everything that I thought would make me cool, and I always fucking hated myself for it. In my friend group, I played this really, like, Sigma dude role where I, like, lifted the weights and I played basketball and I was trying to rizz up all the girls in the group, and I was always trying to be the coolio dude, and I always tried to have, like, the most badass characters on video games, and I always tried to have this persona on, and I would go through these eras where I'd try to, like, shave my head and wear, like, leather jackets and feel so good about myself, but I just fucking didn't. Truthfully, in my heart of hearts, did not. And there came a point in my life where that kind of just snapped a bit, and I became a very dejected and apathetic person because I did not feel like I was going to be able to experience the things in this world that I wanted to experience, and it's held me back from so many things in my life. And especially like when COVID hit, I just lost so much dedication and motivation of things that I wanted to pursue in my life. I was planning on getting a license, I was planning on going to college, I was planning on really going apeshit on my YouTube channel and voice acting and that sort of thing, but everything always had these lingering feelings of resentment towards myself in the back of my head. And ultimately, the big thing that I have never been able to really express to just about anyone that's close to me is it didn't fucking come from somewhere. People always try to rationalize and justify the way that they treat people for their identity based on what happened to make you like this. Nothing did. I had a pretty fucking supportive friend group. I had a best friend that was dope as hell. I had an awesome family, an awesome upbringing. We obviously weren't the richest people on the block, but we were blue collar, we were pretty middle class. It was awesome. I never wanted for anything. I always had nothing but support for my interests, for my hobbies, the things that I wanted to do in my life. I was really talented and good at a lot of the things that I enjoyed. I was able to have a successful YouTube channel. I was able to be a really successful voice actor in the nerdcore community. I was really talented at writing and putting together literature. I had all these dreams in my head, so what flatlined but something in my head? I got in my head for a long time that it was based on something, that something happened that caused me to feel a certain way about myself, but the further I trace back certain key events in my life, the more I realized that I felt so many things about myself, I just did not have the words or the vocabulary to describe them, and so I tried to meet that and contrast that with going completely against the things that I felt I needed to do. And just to kind of go into some dark things in relation to this, because I want to talk real to you guys. I want to be able to help other people that have gone through things, and I want to help y'all understand me a little bit more. I have absolutely dealt with a very deep clinical depression for the past about 10 years of my life or so. I've been extremely anxiety stricken. I have been very agoraphobic about being in places around people, specifically in person. I have gone through extreme bouts of dysmorphia. I absolutely despise a lot of things about myself that I physically feel choked by and claustrophobic with. I do not trust anyone. I have extreme trust issues, and ultimately there have been many times over the past 10 years that I have romanticized and idolicized suicide. Not because I wanted to do it. I never planned on doing it. I never wanted to like hurt myself or that sort of thing. It was literally just a matter of I physically do not feel like I'm going to be able to get the right words across to get people to try to understand me or try to come over to my side of things, to just try their best to hear me out or listen to me or what I have to say, because I felt like the world was just completely closed off from me. And the people that I had as a support system on pretty much every corner, it felt like I came up with reasons in my head constantly for why I could not say jack shit. The big culmination of this was the fact that the metal community felt like it turned me away a lot of times. A lot of people have the luxury of having an online presence that is different from their real life presence. I personally hate that. I want to be consistent and I want to be myself regardless of where I am, but I started to realize that the metal community was not the thing that I thought it was. There were so many people that were kind and that were supportive, but there were also a lot of people that would not give me the time of day, and I come from a very specific background of being a pretty large voice actor separate from my YouTube channel, and when I made this YouTube channel, I wanted to have a community for everyone regardless of where you were coming from or if we agreed or disagreed. I respected and loved my community, and I wanted to bring them together, but I just got beaten down over time. It was a very demeaning and degrading feeling to wake up every day and just see hate comments that were completely unrelated to anything that I was talking about in a video, and was just pointless bickering that just reaffirmed the insecurities that I already had about myself. Let me just reiterate that I understand trolls exist. Trolling is one thing. I grew up in troll culture, so you don't have to tell me about that. I don't care about some troll that says your hair looks dumb or like you look stupid, retard. Like that doesn't really hold much weight to me. I don't care about that. It's the very specific hyper-aware things that people acknowledge about me that is obviously just a specific direct comment about my character or about myself that just makes me feel like, what is the fucking point? Because if I'm not happy and no one's happy with me, then what the fuck is the point of my life? And it has scared me and made me not want to interact with a lot of people in this community as a result of that. I have tried in the past to join mutual servers of metalheads and rock fans and people that would enjoy the type of music that I would enjoy, and I just feel stagnant constantly. My head always just feels like this static screen that I cannot see past because it is so blurred and fuzzed out that I cannot see straight when it comes to people. I would rather be completely alone than have to put up a facade around every single person I'm around, and that is exactly what I did. As Nothing Nowhere said, I built a wooden home to rest my frail frame. That is exactly what I did. I closed myself off from just about everyone, and I have not really been entirely honest with just about anyone in my life but myself, and even then, I've been miserable doing that, so I have not usually known what to do with myself. There was this analogy that I really resonated with on a YouTube short video that talked about decision making in your life and crucial things that make you who you are and the decisions that shape you into the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And it said, take a coin and think of an extreme question in your life that is based around other people, something that you want to do, something that you want to see, something you want to make out of yourself, whatever it may be. And if you truly are unsure of what you should do, I want you to flip that coin and make your two answers based on heads or tails. So do a yes or no, flip the coin and you put it down. And the thing that really hit me is, do you know what you wanted that answer to land on? And if the answer is yes, why are you randomizing it? Why are you denying yourself? It's like you need something outside of you to rationalize the things that would make you happy because you're so afraid. Anyone that says that adamant bigotry against LGBT people doesn't exist have either just been so blind to it, or they're so politically dense, or they just truly don't want to believe it exists. If y'all have the privilege of not having to go through that, I wish you nothing but the best. But truthfully, the argument that people choose to be a certain way, that it is an active choice that you make, is fucking bullshit. Because yes, I want to wake up every day and constantly see news outlets questioning if I'm a person or not, or putting legislation in order to completely deny access to anything or to call into question what someone's rights can or can't be equality-wise. I truly do want to wake up in the morning and not know if someone is going to hate crime me online or even in real life, to have to temper what I wear, where I wear it, who I wear it to, what I tell people about myself, to have constant trust issues with relationships, with friends, with my family. I want to constantly never know if I'm going to have the motivation to get up in the morning, to constantly deny and sacrifice myself the things in my life that I want to do solely because I'm not at the place that I want to be. That's the sad part. It shouldn't be about choosing. There should be some sort of joy in who you are when you wake up in the morning. And like I said, don't really know what that's like. I've never had that sort of come to Jesus moment where I've been able to sit down and talk to someone and just pour my guts out, pour my heart out, and know that I am not only listened to, but heard and supported. Never been to any pride-related events, which I have always wanted to in my life, but I fully don't believe that I'm ever going to get that opportunity in my life. I have blood color my entire life. That is why I named this video that. From the get-go of this metal community that I joined and called a home so long ago, and every single stage of my life that brought me to who I am, I have constantly not known anything but being damaged, but being frustrated, but being hurt, and feeling this sense of misery and dread and apathy towards myself, towards my future, and this ruthless sense of hopelessness that has constricted me ever since I was young. To the point to where now I am literally just made up of all of the hurtful things that have just just beaten me down over time, to where over time I just kind of gave up and said, maybe this just is not for me. Maybe I am not going to reach the things I want to reach, and maybe I just need to suck it up and deal with the fact that it's probably not going to get any better. Everyone deserves a home, and everyone deserves to feel respected and loved, as long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not going out of your way to harm someone, do harm to someone. I think that you deserve to be able to have a place in this world that you are heard, that you are understood, and everyone deserves a support system at the very least. And this community has fallen short not only for me, but for so many other people so much of the time. So many people that just want to feel like they can be themselves, but are terrified to, because a community that was supposed to be built around pariahs, outcasts that didn't get understood by society, and so they came under this one banner to feel understood and to feel happy and to enjoy this aggressive form of music. They didn't get that, because it isn't a club of outcasts. It's a club of outcasts with an asterisk if you fit the criteria of the type of outcasts that a lot of metalheads are looking for. And as my channel's grown to 15,000 subscribers and almost 2 million views, I have consistently felt guilty and shameful that I am not able to not only be authentic with myself, but be authentic with everyone else, to hopefully be someone that people can either look up to or know that they aren't alone. And no matter what age you are, what background you come from, the type of person you are, you have a community of people here who love music, who love the art form we discuss. And sort of the overarching thing is, I still do not label myself publicly. And what you see, what you hear, may not even be me. And that's a really fucking weird sentence to say out loud, and it sounds delusional, it sounds crazy, I understand. But this world scares me, and it has never taught me anything else but to be scared of it. I never stopped bleeding color, I never started to go on a road where I could feel what pride feels like, or what that word even entails, in the same way that a lot of people say that they feel internally. I don't have that big smile on my face, it just fills me with regret and feelings of mistakes. And every time I upload a video on this channel, every time I go out, every time I go on a trip to see my partner, or I'm with friends, or when I'm online, or when I'm in a specific space, or when I'm responding to comments, or when I'm on Twitter, or when I'm on Discord, or when I'm doing a voice acting project, I just always have this feeling of, this could be so much more than it is. And I kind of bargained along the way to just feel content with something that I'm not content with. And I don't really think that that is something that is healthy or good for anyone. And I can fully admit, and I have literally been told once, this fucking stuck with me. I had a friend tell me that I kind of opened up a bit to a friend, just a tiny bit, maybe like 10% of the iceberg. And what she has said is, I feel like most people, if they were in your position or even felt a little bit of what you feel, they would not be here right now. I'm a tough motherfucker to crack, but I am a hell of a lot more sensitive than I let on. I want to see this metal community represent what it was initially meant to represent, an aggressive form of counterculture music that was to bring together people that society shunned and went against. I want to see those pillars of foundation that made this community what it was, be what it was intended to be, and that goes for hardcore music and punk music too, although a lot of times people are a lot more kind when it comes to that. Because the fact that a community that is built around this, so many people can feel so insecure and so unsafe. The standard for LGBT people should not be one of two things in the metal community. Either the people like Connie Scarbosa and Ravenna Hunt Hendricks and Laura Jane Grace, who get completely demolished on a day-to-day basis and misgendered by the thousands and constantly sent death threats, and they just are able to shrug it off and expect it to happen, or alternatively, people like Gall or people like Rob Halford or Freddie Mercury, who constantly get fucking shit down the throat of, but they just don't care about it and shrug it off. It shouldn't be something that you have to expect. It shouldn't be an expectation to be called into question, to have your validity called into question, to consistently be put down. How many times does this world have to persecute a specific group of people and be found out to be in the wrong eventually for it to stop happening? There's always a group that people hate, and most of the time, if you just sit the bitches down and ask them why, they can't come up with a good explanation except for some political jargon that they heard on some conspiracy website or Fox News. And that's not a generalization or a stereotype, because I have a hell of a lot of critiques for leftist politics as well, so don't think that this is some partisan thing or I'm an activist, because I truly do not care. But the one thing I do know from knowing a lot of LGBT people, and also just speaking about myself without going too much into it, most people just want to exist. just want to wake up in the morning, be what they want to be who they want to be. They don't want to fuck with you. They don't want to shove anything down your throat. Like, that's really not how most people think. And the fact that there is still so much conversation about, like, y'all have your rights, sit the fuck down. Do you not see all the legislation that's being passed in so many states? Do you not see the war of politics and how so many people are making it a political talking point on either extreme side of the spectrum, whether you're talking about extreme progressives or extreme conservatives? This is still very much a warring issue and an important thing. And I just wish you nothing but the best. You are loved, you are safe, you are secure, you will always be welcome here no matter what you are, even if we disagree on things. I appreciate you, I support you. Please stick around here because I don't want to lose you. And I do hope that my story could help someone. And I hope that someday I will get in a position where I can feel whole and feel like I am just a person that is able to exist. Do I think that that's likely? Do I think that that is something that is feasible or obtainable? Probably not. And that is simply just me being realistic based on what I have seen. I feel like that is something for other people, not for me, because of the situations that I am in my life and where I'm coming from perspective-wise and circumstance-wise. Just be safe. Watch your back, never stop fighting for who you are, be authentic to yourself, and know that this community, regardless, is a home for outcasts, and it will always be a home for outcasts. Happy Pride Month.